A beggar proposed to a rich woman after she was abandoned at the altar, only to find out he is a billionaire. Riley's veil hit the church floor as she screamed, "You're leaving me! At the altar!" The entire congregation gasped as her groom bolted out the side door, like he was running from the police. Guests started whispering, phones recording, ladies clutching their pearls, while Riley stood frozen, humiliated in front of 200 people. "Somebody stop him!" Aunt Jackie shouted, but Lance was already gone. Riley's knees buckled. She collapsed in her wedding gown, sobbing so hard her breath wouldn't come. She wasn't just abandoned, she was destroyed. And then it happened. A broom clattered on the floor. A tall man in a janitor uniform stepped forward, eyes full of something deep and unshakable. Before anyone could react, he knelt at the altar, right where the groom should have been, and said in a calm, steady voice, "Miss Riley, if he won't marry you, I will." Moment earlier, Riley Carter had never felt more beautiful, more ready, or more certain of anything in her entire life. The sunlight spilled through the stained glass windows of New Hope Baptist, bathing the aisle in warm colors as she waited, glowing in her lace gown, clutching her bouquet, smiling nervously at the guests. Today was supposed to be the beginning of everything, but as the organist played the soft introduction for the processional, a cold ripple moved through the crowd. Whispering, stiff shifting, nervous coughs. Her groom still wasn't there. Pastor Ellis checked his watch for the 5th time. Aunt Jackie fanned herself hard enough to take flight, mumbling, "Lord, please don't let this girl become a public tragedy." Riley's heart thudded painfully. Lance wasn't the type to be late. He was organized, put together, reliable, but 10 minutes passed, then 20. Her breath tightened. She forced a smile each time someone met her eyes. "He's coming," she whispered to herself. "He promised." Then Lance's mother received a text. Everyone saw her hand fly to her mouth. Her eyes grew glossy, her shoulders slumped. "No," she whispered. Riley's stomach dropped. "Mrs. Boyd?" Riley asked shakily. "What did he say?" The woman looked at her with pity, the kind that stabs deeper than the truth. "Baby, Lance ain't coming." For a second, Riley didn't breathe. The world tilted, the church swayed, someone gasped. "He said he ain't ready," Mrs. Boyd continued, her voice breaking, "and he don't want to go through with it." The bouquet slipped from Riley's hand and hit the floor with a soft thud. Tears streamed down her face before she even realized she'd started crying. A loud murmur swept across the pews. Some people rushed toward her, others shook their heads, already reaching for their phones. Riley fell to her knees. Why? Why would he do this to me? Pastor Ellis reached out to help her stand, but before he could touch her, someone else beat him to it. A man, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a gray janitor uniform and holding a broom, walked slowly down the aisle. His face was soft, his eyes gentle. It was Beggar Johnson, the quiet church custodian nobody ever paid attention to. The whole room froze. "What is he doing?" Aunt Jackie hissed. "Lord, don't let this be another disaster." Beggar knelt in front of Riley, not beside her, not near her, directly in front of her. He placed a hand on his chest, like he was steadying his own heartbeat. "Miss Riley, God ain't bring you here today to leave you broken." The guests gasped again. He swallowed hard, his voice deep and steady. "If you'll let me, I'll stand with you right now, right here." "Boy, get up!" someone shouted. "This ain't your place." But Beggar didn't move. Riley stared at him through her tears. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't joking. He wasn't taking advantage of her pain. He was simply there, present, grounded, certain. "Riley," he whispered, "you are not meant to walk out this church feeling unchosen." Her breath shook, her heart cracked. Everything hurt. Everything. And yet, looking into his eyes felt like her soul could finally rest. I don't even know you, she whispered. You don't have to, he replied. Just let me help you stand. The entire church held its breath. Then, trembling, Riley gave the smallest nod. Yes, she whispered. Pastor Ellis fainted. Aunt Jackie screamed, and the congregation erupted into chaos as the janitor proposed to the abandoned bride right there at the altar. For a moment, the church fell into an electric, breath-holding silence. Everyone stared at the janitor kneeling on the altar, like reality had fractured and formed a new dimension. Right in front of them, Riley couldn't move. Her mascara was streaked across her cheeks, her breath uneven, her bouquet long forgotten on the floor. She didn't even know this man's name, only remembered seeing him sweep hallways and mop fellowship floors. "Boy, get up from there!" someone yelled. Aunt Jackie stomped down the aisle in her heels. "Lord, this man done lost his everlasting mind." But Beggar didn't flinch. His voice didn't shake. His eyes held Riley's like they were the only two people in the room. "Miss Riley," he said softly, "you're standing in the worst moment of your life. Let me stand with you. You don't deserve to walk out this church feeling thrown away." Riley's heart crumbled again, not from pain this time, but shock, no pity, no judgment, just calm. "You don't know me," she whispered. "I know heartbreak," he said, "and I know God don't make mistakes with timing." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Pastor Ellis, who'd fainted a few minutes earlier, was now fanning himself with a hymnal. "Lord, take me now 'cause I ain't trained for this level of drama." Then the back doors opened with a loud bang. Mama Pearl Johnson, Beggar's grandmother, walked in wearing a church hat wider than her shoulders and carrying her Bible like a shield. She took one look at the scene, nodded once, and said, Spirit told me to come early today." Riley blinked in disbelief. Who are these people?" Mama Pearl walked right up to Beggar and tapped his shoulder. "Baby, the Lord told you to step, didn't he?" "Yes, ma'am," he said. "Well then," she said, turning to Riley, "don't question the Lord's assignments." Riley nearly choked. "Assignments!" Before anyone could process that, another voice boomed through the sanctuary. "Riley!" It was Lance. Her ex-fiancé stormed back into the church, messy hair, suit half open, looking like he realized too late that he'd thrown away the best thing he ever had. "What is this?" Lance roared, pointing at Beggar. "Get away from her!" Darius, Beggar's younger brother, pushed past guests and stepped between them. "Nah, bruh, you had your chance." "You're a janitor," Lance barked at Beggar. "This is ridiculous." Beggar stayed on one knee, calm as ever. "Doesn't matter what I am today. What matters is how that woman deserves to be treated every day." The congregation hollered like they were watching a championship game. Aunt Jackie covered her mouth. I think the janitor just preached." Lance grabbed Riley's arm. "Riley, come with me. Let's talk." She jerked away, eyes burning. "Talk? You humiliated me in front of everyone. You don't get to talk." "Baby, I made a mistake," he insisted, voice shaking. "Yeah," Riley said quietly. "You made one." She turned toward Beggar. His hand was still outstretched. He still wasn't pushing, still wasn't forcing, just offering. Offering her dignity when hers had been crushed, offering her steadiness when she had none left. Riley's heart pounded. "Why did you do this?" she whispered. Beggar lifted his eyes to hers. "Because no woman deserves to collapse alone." Lance made a choking noise. "Riley, you cannot be serious." Riley closed her eyes, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. Then she took a breath that changed her life. "I accept," she whispered. The church erupted with screams, shouts, praises, and disbelief. Pastor Ellis dropped his Bible again. Mama Pearl shouted, "Won't he do it?" Aunt Jackie fainted clean backward into Monroe's arms. and in the middle of the chaos, Beggar rose to his feet, still holding Riley's trembling hands. As the congregation spun in confusion and outrage, Riley stood there with a man she still didn't understand. A man she would soon discover was not a janitor at all. The sanctuary still buzzed with shock as Riley stood at the altar, feeling every eye in the church drilling into her. Her heart thumped like it was trying to escape her chest. She'd just accepted a proposal from a man she didn't even know, a janitor, a stranger, someone who stepped out of nowhere to stand in the ruins of her wedding day after Ellis dabbed his forehead with a handkerchief, muttering under his breath, "Lord, give me strength I ain't never prayed for before." But Mama Pearl clapped her hands once, loud enough to silence the room. "Pastor, read the vows." Aunt Jackie spun around. "Read the what?" "The vows," Mama Pearl said confidently. "These two gon' be married today. Devil tried to ruin this union, but God already replaced the groom." Riley nearly stumbled. "Mom, I didn't say all that." Beggar squeezed her hand gently. "You don't have to go through with anything you're not ready for. We can walk outside right now if you want." His voice wasn't forceful. It wasn't eager. It was calm, safe, exactly the opposite of the chaos around them. But the crowd wasn't calm. People argued in the pews. Some yelled that this was madness. Others shouted that it was fate. Someone screamed, "Turn on Facebook Live!" Aunt Jackie smacked her phone away. Then Lance barged forward again, but Darius stepped in front of him, blocking him like a brick wall. "Try it," Darius threatened, cracking his knuckles. "I bet you won't." Lance's lip curled. "She's my fiancée." "No," Riley said, voice cracking but firm. "I was your option." The words hit Lance like a slap. He stopped talking. Pastor Ellis finally cleared his throat. "Everybody, settle yourselves. If you're goin' act like fools, at least whisper." He looked at Riley and Beggar. "Children, you sure about this? 'Cause once I start talking, ain't no refund." Riley looked up at Beggar. His eyes were soft, humble, steady, nothing like the panic-filled excuses Lance gave hours. No, minutes earlier. "You're really willing to marry a stranger?" she whispered. "If it protects your heart from breaking more than it already has," Beggar said quietly. "Yes." The congregation let out another wave of gasps. Riley's breath trembled. She wasn't thinking straight. She wasn't thinking at all. But what she did feel was that she couldn't stand in that church one more second as the abandoned bride. So she nodded. Pastor Ellis sighed dramatically. "All right then. Lord, hold my job." He lifted his Bible. "We are gathered here, again, on short notice." A few people snorted. Riley and Beggar faced each other. His hands were warm, steady. Hers were shaking uncontrollably. "Repeat after me," Pastor said. "I, Beggar." "I, Beggar," he said. "Take you, Riley." "Take you, Riley." Riley's heart skipped. This was real. "To be my lawfully wedded wife." Aunt Jackie fainted again. Monroe caught her without blinking. Beggar spoke the words with a calm confidence that made Riley's chest ache. He wasn't reading from a script. He wasn't scared. He wasn't hesitant. He was choosing her. Pastor Ellis turned to Riley. "Your turn." She swallowed hard. Her ex stood meters away, watching everything crumble, but somehow, when she looked at Beggar, she didn't see embarrassment or pity. She saw refuge. Riley," she whispered. Her voice cracked on the first word. Tears blurred her vision. Beggar squeezed her hand. "You got this," he whispered, and she did. "Take you, Beggar, to be my lawfully wedded husband." The church exploded into whispers. Pastor Ellis wiped his tears dramatically. "By the unexpected power vested in me, I now pronounce y'all husband and wife. Beggar, you may do whatever feels appropriate under the circumstances." Beggar didn't kiss her. He didn't rush. Instead, he gently lifted her hand, and placed a soft kiss on her knuckles, so respectful, so tender the whole church fell silent. Mama Pearl shouted, "Glory!" like the spirit hit her. Riley's breath caught. Her old life ended on that altar, and a new one, terrifying, uncertain, and strangely hopeful, began with a man she barely knew. The ride from the church to Beggar's place felt like Riley was floating outside her own body. Her wedding gown bunched up awkwardly in the passenger seat of Beggar's dusty old truck, its engine humming like it was held together by prayer and duct tape. People honked, stared, even pointed as they passed, because who wouldn't stare at a bride sitting beside a man in a janitor uniform? Riley couldn't even blame them. Her phone buzzed non-stop. Calls, texts, voicemails, but she couldn't bring herself to look. She just stared at her shaking hands. Beggar glanced over at her, keeping his voice gentle. "You okay?" She let out a humorless laugh. "My groom ran away. I married a stranger. I'm riding around town looking like a runaway mannequin." "So, no, Beggar, I'm not okay." He nodded. "Fair enough." Silence settled in again, but it wasn't heavy, it wasn't awkward, just still. When they pulled up to a small apartment building that had paint peeling off the siding, Riley blinked. "You live here?" "Yeah," Beggar said as he parked. "Ain't much, but it's quiet." Quiet was definitely the word, the kind of place where even the wind didn't want to stay long. He helped her out of the truck, careful not to step on her dress. When they reached his apartment door, he paused. "You can walk away any time you want," he said softly. "This doesn't tie you down. I ain't gonna hold you to nothing you don't understand." Riley hesitated. Her mind screamed to run. Her heart was too tired to move. "Can I just sit somewhere?" she whispered. "Course you can." He opened the door. Inside was small but tidy, like someone who didn't own much but cared for what they did. A simple couch, a small table, a Bible open on the counter, a shelf with old jazz records and a framed picture of Mama Pearl. Riley walked in slowly, like she might break something by breathing. She sank onto the couch and finally checked her phone. 37 missed calls, 9 voicemails, 24 texts. Her mother, her brother, Monroe Lance. Lance again. Aunt Jackie. Alicia. Every message was full of disbelief, yelling, confusion, threats, desperate pleas. She shut the phone off. Beggar set a glass of water in front of her. "Drink. You ain't cried out everything yet." She wanted to snap back, wanted to be defensive, wanted to say she didn't need babysitting. But he was right. Tears flooded her again, surprising her with their intensity. She covered her face. "Why did he leave me? Was I not enough?" Beggar crouched in front of her, not close enough to invade her space, just near enough so she knew she wasn't alone. "Some people misjudge blessings because they ain't ready for responsibility," he said softly. "A good woman ain't never the problem. A weak man is." Riley's breath stuttered. Those words hit her deeper than Lance ever had. A knock rattled the door. Beggar stood quickly. "Stay here." He opened the door to find Monroe, Riley's older brother, standing there like a storm in human form. His fist clenched, his jaw tight. "You!" Monroe growled. "We need to talk." Riley jumped up. "Monroe, stop!" But Monroe shoved his way inside and got in Beggar's face. "My sister ain't some charity case. You took advantage of her while she was broken." Beggar didn't back down. "I did what God told me." "God didn't tell you to marry a crying woman in a dress," Monroe snapped. "Monroe!" Riley shouted. "I said stop." But Monroe grabbed Beggar's shirt. Before a fight could break out, Mama Pearl barreled into the apartment behind them, swinging her purse like it was a weapon. "If y'all don't unhand that boy right now, I'ma lay hands in a way Jesus did not authorize." Monroe jumped back, startled. "Ma'am," Mama Pearl glared, "I been praying longer than you been walking." Don't test me. Riley sank back onto the couch, overwhelmed her new husband, her furious brother, a grandmother prophetess, a life she didn't understand. Beggar stepped away from Monroe, dusting his shirt. Riley deserves peace, not another man making decisions for her. Monroe turned to Riley. You coming home with me? Riley looked between them, between chaos and calm, between fear and something that felt almost like safety. For the first time since the altar, she made a decision for herself. No, she whispered. I'm staying. Monroe froze. Mama Pearl smiled, and Beggar. Beggar's shoulders relaxed like he'd been holding his breath the whole time. Riley exhaled slowly. This wasn't the life she chose, but maybe, just maybe, it was the life God chose for her. The next morning, Riley woke up to the soft scent of coffee drifting through the apartment. For a moment she forgot where she was, forgot the humiliation, the shock, the unexpected marriage. But when she opened her eyes and saw the tiny living room from the couch she'd slept on, reality hit like a wave. She sat up slowly, rubbing her temples. The wedding gown from yesterday hung over the chair like a ghost she wasn't ready to face. Beggar stood in the kitchenette, wearing clean jeans and a simple t-shirt, stirring something on the stove. He glanced over his shoulder. Morning, he said gently. Didn't want to wake you. Riley blinked. Did you sleep at all? On the floor, he said, nodding toward a folded blanket. I'm used to making space for others. She didn't know how to respond. She didn't understand him, not his calm, his patience, nor the way he acted like this situation wasn't turning his whole life upside down too. I made eggs and toast, he added. It ain't fancy, but… Riley cut him off. Beggar, why are you like this? He paused. Like what? Kind, she whispered. Patient. Acting like this is normal. He shrugged lightly. People deserve softness when the world roughs them up. Her chest tightened. Before she could speak, her phone buzzed violently beside her. Riley grabbed it. Her mother again. 10 missed calls this morning. Monroe had texted repeatedly, "Come home now." But another message caught her eye. Lance, Riley, please, I need to talk to you. I made a mistake. The audacity made her stomach twist. She turned the phone face down. Beggar watched her quietly. You don't gotta decide everything today. Just breathe. But Riley shook her head. People think I'm out of my mind. I don't even know how to explain any of this. You don't owe anybody an explanation, he said, not even me. Silence stretched between them until a sharp knock rattled the door. Beggar tensed. That better not be. He opened it to see Daria standing there in a crisp shirt and jeans, looking nothing like the rough-edged brother from yesterday's scene, but his eyes were urgent. You need to come out back, now, Daria said. Beggar stepped outside. Riley hesitated, but followed, folding her arms against the morning chill. Behind the building, 2 men in suits leaned against a sleek black SUV, completely out of place in this neighborhood. One of them pulled out a tablet and frowned. You've missed 2 board calls, Mr. Johnson. Riley's eyes widened. Mr. Johnson? She turned slowly toward Beggar. He stiffened. Not here. The man ignored him. The chairman is expecting your signature on the acquisition before Friday. We also received word that Ashton Corp is initiating a challenge. Hey! Beggar snapped. I said not here. The 2 men fell silent immediately. Darius stepped forward. Y'all need to go. We'll handle it. The suits exchanged a look, then nodded reluctantly and left. Riley stared at Beggar, stunned. Board? Acquisition? What was that? Beggar rubbed his palm against his forehead. It's complicated. Try me. He looked up at her, eyes troubled, guarded. I got responsibilities. Stuff I don't bring around people. Stuff that ain't simple. Stuff that could hurt people if it landed on the wrong ears. You talk like you're running a drug ring, she snapped. Darius snorted. Beggar shot him a glare. It ain't illegal, Beggar said. Just private. Riley folded her arms. So you're a janitor with a secret corporate life? Beggar hesitated a second too long. She stepped back. You're lying. I'm protecting you. From what, Beggar? You barely know me. He opened his mouth but couldn't find the right words. Darius sighed. Look, Riley, Beggar ain't who people assume he is. That's all you need to know right now. That's not enough, she yelled. Her voice cracked. Tears stung her eyes. She felt betrayed all over again. By Lance yesterday, and now by a man who stepped in looking like a savior, but acted like he carried 100 locked doors inside him. Beggar stepped closer. Riley, please, I ain't trying to hurt you. Then tell me the truth. He swallowed, jaw tight. I can't. Not yet. Her breath trembled. Then I can't stay here. He flinched like she'd struck him. Riley brushed past him, heading back inside to grab her purse. Her gown still hung over the chair, another reminder of yesterday's disaster. She stopped at the door. You gave me comfort yesterday, she whispered, but comfort isn't trust. Beggar looked destroyed but said nothing. Riley opened the door and found Lance standing there. He was holding flowers, his eyes red, his expression desperate. Riley, he breathed, please, let me explain. She froze. Beggar stepped behind her instantly, tension vibrating off him. Darius muttered, Lord, not this clown again. Lance swallowed hard. Riley, I panicked yesterday. I made the worst decision of my life, but I still love you. Riley's throat tightened. Beggar kept his voice steady. You need to leave. Who the hell are you to tell me anything? Lance snapped. You're a janitor. Darius stepped forward. Say that one more time. Lance ignored him, locking eyes with Riley. I know you're confused, but think about everything we've been through. Think about our plans, our home, our future. You can't throw that away for a man you don't even know. Riley felt her pulse pounding. She looked at Lance, the familiar man who shattered her heart, and then at Beggar, the stranger who held it together just long enough for her to breathe. And despite everything, she whispered the truth. I don't know what future I have with either one of you. Lance blinked. Beggar lowered his head. Riley stepped outside, voice trembling. But I do know this. I'm choosing me today. And she walked past both men, leaving them stunned on the sidewalk. Riley didn't know where she was walking, only that she had to move, breathe, escape the walls closing around her. Her heels clicked against the cracked sidewalk as she stormed away from the building, ignoring Lance calling her name, and Beggar watching her leave like she'd just taken the sun with her. She reached the end of the block before slowing down. The air was thick, her head buzzed, her heart pounded so loudly it felt like the world could hear it. Riley! She groaned. She didn't need to turn to know who it was. Lance jogged toward her, flowers now wilting in his grip. Baby, stop, please. She faced him. Don't call me that. Lance's chest rose and fell. He looked different, less polished, less sure. Like a man who finally understood the value of what he'd thrown away. Riley, just listen. 1 minute. That's all I'm asking. She crossed her arms. You had years to talk to me, Lance. Years to be honest. Years to commit. And yesterday, you left me standing in front of everybody. His eyes reddened. I know I messed up, but I panicked. Marriage, being responsible for somebody's future, I wasn't ready. And you think I was, she snapped. You think I wasn't scared, but I showed up. I chose you. Lance swallowed hard. I'm choosing you now. Riley shook her head. It's too late. Riley, I love you. No, she said sharply. You love what I did for you. You loved how I supported you, but you didn't love me enough to stand beside me. Lance looked shattered. Before she could walk away, someone else appeared behind him. Alicia. Riley felt her blood run cold. What are you doing here? Alicia flicked her hair back, trying to talk some sense into you. Riley, this marriage to a janitor. Stop talking, Riley warned. You're embarrassing yourself. Alicia pushed on. You married a man you don't know and walked out on a man who has stability. Stability? Riley repeated. You mean the man who ran off while I was wearing a wedding dress? Alicia's face twitched. He was overwhelmed. Not a good enough excuse. Alicia rolled her eyes. Look, Riley, Lance told me everything. He wants to make it right. He wants you back. Lance cut in quickly. I never said I wanted you involved. Alicia held up a hand. I'm trying to help you, Lance. Riley stared at them. Wow, so y'all are a team now? Alicia flinched. Lance looked uncomfortable. It's not like that. Then what is it like? Riley demanded. Why is she always showing up where she doesn't belong? Alicia stepped forward. Riley, you're being dramatic. You married a janitor in front of an entire congregation. You need to fix this mess before everyone knows. Riley's chest tightened. Alicia, I don't trust your intentions. Alicia scoffed. Because you're emotional. No, Riley said quietly. Because you left the reception hall yesterday, the second Lance disappeared. Alicia froze. Lance looked at her sharply. You did what? Alicia's mouth opened, closed, opened again. I went to check on you. No, Riley said. You went to check on him. Silence. The three of them stood there, breathing the same heavy air, facing the truth none wanted to speak. Lance ran a hand through his hair, defeated. Riley, I don't know what's happening anymore, but I'm begging you, come home with me, let's start over. Riley's voice trembled. If you loved me, you would have married me yesterday. Lance took a step toward her. Beggar appeared behind him. Soft steps, calm presence, but his eyes were sharp, watching Lance like a man protecting something sacred. He didn't touch Riley, didn't interrupt, just stood there, solid, steady, ready. Lance stiffened. Here he is, Mr. Replacement. You really think a man pushing mops can give you the life I can? Beggar's jaw tightened, but he didn't rise to the bait. I ain't competing with you, Beggar said. I'm just here to make sure she's safe. Safe from what? Lance barked. You, Beggar said without blinking. Riley covered her mouth, tears threatening. Alicia stepped between them. Riley, choose with your brain, not whatever weird emotional spiral you're in. Riley laughed, a hollow, tired sound. Alicia, if I chose with my brain, I would have cut both of you off years ago. Alicia stiffened. Lance's face fell. Beggar didn't move. Riley took a shaky breath. I'm done explaining myself. I'm done begging people to value me. She pointed at Lance. You threw me away. She pointed at Alicia. You root for whoever benefits you. Then she turned to Beggar. You. Her voice softened. You confuse me. Beggar blinked slowly. I ain't trying to confuse nobody. But you are, she said, and I still don't trust you. Beggar nodded once, accepting it without offense. That's fair. But, Riley continued, voice fragile, you make me feel safe in a way I can't explain, and right now, that matters more than anything. Lance exhaled sharply. So what, Riley? You're choosing him? Riley shook her head. I'm choosing me, and choosing me means not going backward. She stepped past Lance and Alicia, walking toward Beggar. He didn't move until she reached him. When she did, he quietly stepped aside so she could walk ahead of him, not behind, not below. Beside, he followed at her pace, slow and unrushed. At the end of the block, Riley paused. Beggar? Yeah? She met his eyes, voice barely above a whisper. Take me home. and for the first time that morning, she meant his home. Not Lance's, not her mother's, not Monroe's, hers, the place she didn't understand yet, but felt drawn to anyway. Beggar nodded. "Come on." As they walked away, Lance yelled her name. Alicia cursed under her breath, and the world behind them collapsed into noise. But Riley didn't look back, because the moment her feet moved forward beside Beggar, her new life, messy, confusing, terrifying, finally began. For the first time since stepping into Beggar's world, Riley felt the weight of silence, not the heavy, suffocating kind, but something gentler, something she didn't know she needed. Beggar's apartment door clicked shut behind them as they entered. No shouting, no demands, no chaos, just peace. Riley released a shaky breath and leaned against the wall, closing her eyes. Today has felt like a whole year. Beggar nodded, removing his jacket. You handled yourself better than most folks would have. She let out a soft, humorless laugh. I don't feel like I handled anything. I feel like I'm being dragged through a tornado barefoot. Still standing, ain't you? Riley opened her eyes. He was looking at her with that same quiet steadiness she was growing used to and afraid of. Afraid because it was too soothing, too comforting, too safe. No one's ever stood for me the way you did, she admitted. Not even Lance. Beggar didn't smile, didn't take the compliment like a victory. He just nodded once, respectful. I didn't do it for glory. Then why did you do it? She whispered. Why would you offer to marry a crying stranger in a church full of gossiping people who probably think we're both insane? Beggar walked to the counter, grabbed his journal, and held it to his chest. You'll think I'm crazy if I tell you. After everything that's happened, try me. He opened the journal, not to show her, but to read something quietly. His thumb brushed a page gently. Because I pray a lot, I listen, and when God says, move, I move. Riley blinked, stunned into silence. He continued, For months I've been praying for direction, for purpose, for something I'm supposed to step into. And yesterday when you fell, something in me said, help her stand, not marry her. Just don't let her break alone. Riley's throat tightened. Something raw, warm, unfamiliar bloomed in her chest. And the marriage? She asked softly. Beggar shut the journal. That came out before I could think like God shoved the words out of my mouth. I ain't lying. My own brain didn't catch up until you said yes. Her breath hitched. And you don't regret it. He met her eyes without flinching. No. That scared her more than anything else had. Before she could respond, there was a light knock at the door. Beggar tensed. Riley stepped back instinctively. Relax, Beggar murmured, peeking through the peephole. It's Mama Pearl. He opened the door, and Mama Pearl swept inside like she owned the place, carrying a pot wrapped in foil. I brought gumbo. That house of yours been too stressed lately not to receive a good meal. She placed it on the counter, then turned to Riley. Baby, you look like exhaustion in human form. Sit. Riley obeyed before she even realized she had. Mama Pearl sat beside her. You been thrown into a storm, and storms don't ask permission before they hit. But you got two choices, drown or grow gills. Riley huffed a tired laugh. I'm not sure I can swim at this point. Mama Pearl cupped Riley's cheek. Then lean on the folks who can. Riley swallowed hard. As Mama Pearl bustled around the kitchen, Riley whispered to Beggar, Your grandmother is something else. She raised me and Darius, he said. She's everything. Riley nodded, watching the older woman hum while stirring gumbo, like this was just an ordinary evening. I wish I had someone like that. You got her now? Beggar said softly. Her heart did another strange twist. Later, after Mama Pearl left with a wink and a rest babies, Riley settled on the couch again, trying to steady her breathing. "Thank you," she murmured. "For what?" Beggar asked quietly. "For today, for not letting Lance or Alicia bulldoze me, for making me feel like I matter." He sat across from her, elbows on his knees. "You do matter, Riley, even if nobody else saw it before." Her chest tightened. She wiped her cheek quickly before tears formed. He noticed, "You don't have to hide crying from me." "That's the problem," she whispered. "You're too gentle." "Ain't no such thing." "I've never had gentle," she said. "Not real gentle. It scares me." Beggar leaned back, thoughtful. "Being treated right can feel strange when you ain't used to it." Riley stared at him, unable to deny how true that was. Beggar stood. "Come on, I'll make you some tea." She watched him move around the kitchen, effortlessly calm, even after the chaos Lance had caused. "How are you so composed?" she asked. He shrugged. "When you've been through enough storms, you stop panicking in rain." Riley tilted her head. "What storms?" He hesitated, a long pause. Then, "We'll talk about that when you're ready." Not when he was ready, when she was. Her breath hitched again. After tea, after exhaustion finally won, Riley drifted to sleep, this time on the couch with a blanket and pillow, Beggar tucked around her without waking her. Hours later, she woke up in the middle of the night to see Beggar asleep on the floor beside the couch, one arm draped over his eyes. She stared at him. He could have slept in his bed. He could have distanced himself. He could have acted like a man who didn't care. But he didn't. Riley whispered into the dark, barely audible even to herself. "You look so gentle when you sleep." And then a quieter confession. "I don't know what you're hiding, but I want to believe you." Her heart squeezed painfully. "But please don't break me too." She blinked away tears. Beggar shifted in his sleep, brow furrowing, like he heard her. Riley lay back down and stared at the ceiling. She was falling, and it terrified her more than anything ever had. Riley woke the next morning to the sound of raised voices outside the apartment, muffled but tense. She sat up quickly, heart racing. Beggar wasn't on the floor anymore. His blanket was folded neatly by the couch. She hurried to the window and peered through the blinds. 2 black SUVs were parked out front. Men in suits stood beside them, speaking with Darius. Beggar was there too, his posture stiff, his jaw locked tight. Riley's pulse quickened. Something was wrong. She cracked open the door quietly, just enough to hear. "I told you not to come here," Beggar growled, one of the men in suits, a tall, stern-looking brother with glasses, adjusted his tie. "We had no choice, sir. Ashton Corp has already moved to intercept the acquisition, if we don't respond by Monday." "This ain't the place for business talk," Beggar snapped. "Not here, not around her." Riley's breath caught her. He meant her. Darius rubbed his temples. "They sent spies, Big. They digging into your background, our family history, everything. They're looking for weak points." The man with glasses nodded. "And they've already found one." Beggar stiffened. "What weak point?" The man glanced toward Riley's apartment door. Beggar followed his gaze and froze. Riley stepped outside, arms crossed, breath uneven. "What's going on?" The men in suits looked at her with recognition. Too much recognition. Beggar swore under his breath. "Riley, you weren't supposed to hear that." "I wasn't supposed to hear a lot of things," she said quietly, hurt bleeding through her voice. "But here we are." Darius cleared his throat. "Riley, morning." "Good morning, Darius," she replied flatly. "Now someone start talking." Beggar stepped forward. "Let's go inside." "No." Riley held her ground. "I'm tired of being the last to know anything. What's happening?" The man with glasses finally spoke. "Ms. Riley, my name is Carter Hill. I'm head of operations for Johnson Holdings." The name hit her like the world had tilted. Johnson. What? Johnson Holdings, Carter repeated. One of the largest privately owned black corporations in the country. Riley blinked, hard. That doesn't make sense. Beggar is a janitor. The men exchanged awkward glances. Beggar sighed. I ain't a janitor, Riley. She stared at him. Then what are you? I'm somebody who didn't want to be found. Silence stretched. What does that mean? Riley whispered. Beggar looked away. It means people been using me my whole life. For money, for access, for their own agendas. I got tired of it, so I stepped back, hid, lived simple, did jobs that didn't put a target on my back. You made yourself invisible, Darius added, on purpose. Riley shook her head, stunned. So you're rich? Like, rich? Beggar swallowed, gaze steady. More than I wanted to be. Riley stepped back. And you didn't think to tell me any of this? I married you. You married a man who didn't want to scare you, Beggar said gently. A man who didn't want you to think he had an agenda. Somebody finally saw you hurting, and I was trying to protect you from stepping into even bigger mess. Protect me? Beggar, you dragged me into a war I didn't even know existed. That hit him harder than she knew. Darius stepped in. Riley, nobody's dragging you. Save it, she snapped. Carter cleared his throat awkwardly. We should leave. This conversation seems private. No, Beggar said firmly. Finish the report. Carter nodded grimly. Ashton Corp is preparing a hostile takeover. They're using back channels, illegal tactics, shell companies, anything to find leverage. They've already hacked our database twice. The board is panicking. Darius clenched his jaw. And yesterday they found a picture of you and Riley walking into this apartment. They started digging into her life. Riley's stomach dropped. Why me? You're new, Carter replied. Unfamiliar, unexpected. A sudden marriage to the CEO of a major private empire is suspicious. Beggar shot Carter a sharp look. Watch your tone. Riley shook her head. Suspicious? I didn't even know he was a CEO. Doesn't matter to them, Darius said. They think you're leverage. Beggar turned to Riley, eyes pained. This is why I didn't tell you. This is why I didn't want you involved. That's not an excuse, she whispered. That's manipulation. Beggar looked devastated. Carter continued. Mr. Johnson, with all due respect, you should keep Ms. Carter somewhere secure. Ashton Corp is relentless. Beggar's voice hardened. She stays with me. Riley scoffed. I'm not some pawn you get to lock away. You're not, Beggar said. But if they come for you, they come for me, and I can't. His voice cracked for the first time. I can't let that happen. The vulnerability in his tone startled her. Just then, a dusty grey car pulled into the lot. The door slammed open. Mama Pearl emerged, waving her purse like she had angelic authority. I felt disturbance in my spirit, she declared, pointing at Beggar. Boy, y'all out here causing storms before breakfast? Carter bowed his head politely. Ms. Pearl. Mama Pearl marched straight to Riley and took her hands. Baby, you look like somebody shook your soul and didn't apologize. Riley choked. He lied to me. Mama Pearl eyed Beggar. Did you lie? I kept secrets, Beggar admitted. Mama Pearl sighed. Child, a lie is a lie. A secret is protection, but protection without trust is just fear, wearing a church hat. Riley's eyes filled with tears. Beggar stepped closer. I'm sorry. I should have told you the truth sooner. I wanted to. But every woman who ever knew who I was tried to use me. I was scared you'd run. I am running, she whispered, not because of your money, but because I don't know who you are. Beggar's shoulders slumped. Mama Pearl squeezed Riley's hands gently. Baby, you got choices, but hear me. God don't lead folks into storms unless he plans to bring them out stronger. Riley pulled her hands away gently. I need time. Beggar nodded, defeated. Take it. The suits left. Darius followed. Mama Pearl lingered only long enough to say, Don't let fear choose for you, girl. Then she left too. Riley walked back into the apartment alone, the weight of a new, terrifying truth settling on her chest. Beggar Johnson wasn't a janitor. He was a secret empire, and she was now tangled in a war she never asked to join. Riley didn't leave the apartment immediately. She couldn't, not with her hands trembling, her breath struggling to steady, her mind still echoing with Carter's words. They think you're leverage. She pressed her palms to her temples and paced the living room. The more she moved, the more her thoughts tangled. Beggar lied. No, he hid. But hid what? His wealth? His power? His actual name? She had married a man she didn't know, and somehow he was both completely foreign and the only person who'd made her feel truly protected. Why did her heart ache so bad? Because he wasn't supposed to be another secret keeper. She already had one of those. Lance. The wound still felt fresh. She grabbed her purse and jacket. She had to leave, breathe, think. When she opened the front door, Beggar was standing in the hallway, leaning against the wall with his hands shoved in his pockets. He wasn't blocking her path, just waiting, quietly, like he knew she would come out. He straightened. You okay? No, she whispered. I'm really not. He nodded slowly. I know. She moved past him, but he gently touched her elbow, not pulling her back, just stopping her for 1 second. Where you going? He asked softly. Away from this, she said. Away from everything. Beggar didn't argue, didn't beg her to stay. He simply nodded once, like he was absorbing the pain with quiet acceptance. Call me if anything feels off, he said. If somebody approaches you, if you see a car you don't know, call me, even if you're mad at me. His voice cracked just barely enough that her heart stuttered. Goodbye, Beggar, she murmured. And for the first time since she met him, walking away hurt. Riley ordered a rideshare instead of calling her mum. She couldn't handle Mildred's questions or Monroe's anger. When the driver dropped her off near her family's house, she hesitated at the gate, staring at the home she'd worked 3 jobs to help pay for. The lights were on. Loud voices drifted from inside. She stepped in slowly. Mildred rushed over the second she saw her. Baby! Oh, thank God I've been worried sick. Monroe said you ran off and, Lord, I didn't know what to think. I'm okay, Mom, Riley said quietly. You sure? Mildred cupped her face. You look pale. The door to the kitchen opened. Monroe emerged, arms crossed, looking like he hadn't slept. You finally came home, he said. Good, we got things to talk about. Riley sighed. Monroe, please, not now. No, now, he snapped. You married some man you barely know. You moved in with him without telling nobody. Then you show up on TV. Riley's head jerked up. TV? Monroe nodded grimly. Mildred turned on the living room TV, and Riley's heart collapsed. There she was, standing next to Beggar outside the church. Reporters' screenshots, tabloids, headlines. Mystery bride marries billionaire, heir in shock church ceremony. Beggar Johnson's secret marriage stuns the business world. Who is Riley Carter? Riley sank onto the couch. No, she whispered. No, no, no. What is this? Monroe turned the volume down. You tell us, because we just found out your janitor husband is actually one of the richest men in the state. Mildred looked at Riley with worry and awe. Baby, you married a billionaire? Riley covered her face. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Monroe scoffed. How do you not know something like that? Because he hid it, she snapped. He hid everything. Mildred sat beside her. Why would he hide something that big? Riley shook her head, staring numbly at the screen. Because he said people used him, lied to him, took advantage of him. He didn't trust anybody. Monroe rolled his eyes. Oh, that's real convenient. Riley stood suddenly. You know what's funny? You're acting like I'm the one who betrayed everybody. Didn't you? He fired back. We're your family. And I've supported this family since I was 17, Riley shouted. Every job, every sacrifice I did for y'all. Mildred's eyes softened, Monroe's hardened. Well, now you done married a billionaire, Monroe said, and you better not let that slip through your fingers. Riley recoiled like he slapped her. Is that seriously what you care about? She whispered. Money? Monroe didn't back down. Riley, we've been poor all our lives, barely survived. Then God drops a blessing like that and you want to throw it away because your feelings got hurt? Mildred gasped. Monroe! But Monroe didn't stop. You need to go back to that man, he said. Say whatever you got to say. Fix it. Because opportunities like that don't come twice. Riley's voice trembled. I didn't marry him for money. Then why did you? Monroe demanded. Riley opened her mouth, then shut it. How could she explain something she barely understood? How could she explain the feeling she had in the church? The strange, overwhelming peace she felt when Beggar stood beside her? The way he made her feel seen, safe, valued, even without knowing her? Monroe misinterpreted her silence. Exactly, he muttered. You ain't got an answer. Mildred stepped forward, placing a hand on Riley's shoulder. Baby, you do what's right for your heart, not ours, not theirs, yours. Tears blurred Riley's vision. She hugged her mother tight. I don't know what's right. Mildred held her close. Then take your time. Take all the time you need. Meanwhile, back at Beggar's apartment. Beggar sat alone on the edge of his bed, elbows on his knees, head bowed. Darius leaned against the doorway. You okay, man? No, Beggar admitted. Darius whistled low. Didn't think you'd say it. Beggar exhaled shakily. I thought telling her the truth later would protect her. Now I'm the one that hurt her. Yeah, Darius said. You did. Beggar winced. But you also saved her, Darius added. Yesterday, in that church, she was breaking. You stepped in. You carried weight that wasn't yours. Beggar shook his head. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know she would matter. And now? Darius asked quietly. Beggar's throat tightened. She matters too much. Silence. Darius pushed off the wall. Then go get her. Beggar didn't look up. I can't chase her, not after lying. You didn't lie, Big. You protected your peace. The world you come from ain't easy. Beggar clenched his jaw. Darius softened. But Riley ain't like the others. She ain't impressed by the money. She was hurt because she wanted to trust you. Beggar lifted his head slowly. And if you want her back, Darius said, you gotta give her the one thing nobody else ever gave her. What? Honesty. All of it. Beggar closed his eyes, the truth sinking deep. That night, after her family fell asleep, Riley sat alone on the porch swing. The wind was cool, the sky quiet. She pulled out her phone, scrolled past Lance's messages, past Alicia's texts, past headlines. She stopped at Beggar's name. No call, no text, no pressure. Just quiet, just him giving her space. Her heart squeezed painfully. She took a deep breath, then she dialed. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Riley? His voice was raw, tired, hopeful. She closed her eyes. I need to see you, she whispered. Beggar exhaled shakily. Name the place. Riley gripped the phone. The park, the one 2 blocks from your place. I'll be there in 10, he said, and for the first time in days, Riley felt her heartbeat settle. Not because things were fixed, not because she had answers, but because she was finally ready to face the truth, whatever it was. Riley arrived at the park before Beggar did. The night air was cool, brushing along her skin like a reminder to breathe. She took a seat on the wooden bench beneath the old street lamp, the glow catching the faint shimmer of the tears she had been holding back. She didn't know what she wanted from this meeting. Answers? Apologies? Space? A reason to stay? Or a reason to run? Maybe all of it. Maybe none. 10 minutes passed before she saw him. Beggar walked toward her from the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense but determined. He wasn't dressed like a CEO. He wasn't dressed like a janitor either. Just Beggar, simple jeans, a plain black t-shirt, the same quiet strength in every careful step. Riley swallowed hard as he stopped a few feet away. "You came," he said softly. "You said 10 minutes," she replied. "I didn't think you'd be late." A faint smile tugged at his mouth, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm sorry I wasn't early." She looked down at her hands, twisting her fingers together. "There's a lot we need to talk about." "I know." Beggar sat beside her, not too close, not too far. Just close enough that she could feel his presence, but still breathe. Riley inhaled shakily. "Why didn't you tell me the truth about who you are?" He looked straight ahead, watching the empty swing set. "Because I wanted one part of my life that wasn't controlled by money, expectations, or people using me. One place where I could choose for myself how to move. And marrying me was part of that?" "No," he said immediately. "That wasn't planned. That wasn't strategy. That wasn't anything I rehearsed. I told you." Those words slipped out before my mind even grabbed onto them. "You keep saying that," Riley whispered, "but you don't understand what that did to me. What it still does." "I do understand," he said quietly. "That's why I didn't fight you when you left." Riley's voice shook. "I needed space. I needed to breathe." "I wanted you to have that," he said, "but I also wanted you to come back because you wanted to, not because I pressured you." She nodded slowly. "Good, because I'm not a woman who can be bullied or controlled." "I know," he said with a sad smile. "That was one of the first things I noticed about you." Riley tensed, confused. "You noticed me before the wedding?" Beggar looked like he regretted saying that. "Not in a creepy way, just the first time you came to that church months ago." Her eyes widened. "The charity drive?" He nodded. "You were helping pack boxes. You looked tired, tired in a way I recognized, but you were still smiling at everybody, still giving, still serving, still pushing through like you didn't matter as much as everybody else." Riley blinked quickly to hide tears. "You remember that?" "I remember everything," he said. "You made an impression." She inhaled slowly. "So you knew me longer than 24 hours. "Only from a distance," he clarified. "I didn't know your name, your story, your past. Nothing. But I knew your spirit, and when I saw you fall on that altar, something inside me said, 'Stand with her.'" Riley clenched her jaw. "Beggar, I'm not a charity case." "You're not," he said gently. "You're someone God put in my path for a reason." She scoffed. "God has an odd sense of timing then." Beggar chuckled softly. "You're not wrong." Silence lingered before Riley whispered, "You should have trusted me enough to tell me the truth." He turned to her fully. "Riley, every time I told a woman who I was, who my family was, what we owned, I stopped being a person. I became a wallet, a ticket, a fantasy and advantage." "So you punished me for other women's greed?" she snapped. He flinched. "It wasn't punishment, it was fear." That word hit her harder than she expected there. Not pride, not selfishness, not manipulation. Fear, the same fear she felt now. The fear of choosing wrong again, loving wrong again, trusting wrong again. Riley let out a long breath. "You should have given me the choice to walk away knowing everything." "You're right," he said softly, "and I'm sorry. deeply sorry. If I could redo the last 2 days, I would have told you everything from the start." "And the men in suits?" she asked. "The takeover? The threats?" He exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Ashton Corp has been trying to dismantle our family business for years. Every tactic they used didn't work, so now they're trying something new, using personal lives to destabilize us." "Meaning me." "No," he said firmly, "meaning me. But you got caught in my storm." Riley shook her head. "You didn't even ask me if I was okay being in a storm." "I know," he murmured, "and that's why I want to lay everything out now. All of it." She looked up hesitantly. "Everything?" "Everything," he promised. "I'm done hiding." He turned toward her, and for the first time she saw not the quiet, mysterious man she married, but the weight of an empire sitting behind his eyes. "My full name is Benson Elijah Johnson," he said. "My family owns Johnson Holdings, real estate, tech, logistics, security consulting, media companies, over 24 subsidiaries. I walked away from the CEO role because I didn't want a life where people saw me as a machine instead of a man." Riley's breath caught. "You're the CEO?" "Officially," he said. "Unofficially? Carter and the board handle day-to-day operations. I sign things when necessary, but my disappearance made Ashton Corp think we're vulnerable." "And me marrying you made it worse?" "Unexpected," he corrected. "They think you might be an entry point, a weakness, a way to pry into my private life." Riley wrapped her arms around herself. "I don't want to be anyone's weak point." "You're not," he said, touching her hand gently before pulling back, letting her choose whether to continue the contact. "You're only a weakness if you run, but if you stay—" She swallowed hard. "If I stay?" He held her gaze. "You'd be my strength." Her heart thudded painfully. "Bigger, don't say things like that unless you mean them." "I mean every word." The sincerity in his voice made her chest ache. She shook her head slowly. "I don't even know who I am to you." He looked at her with something raw, vulnerable. "You're the first person in a long time who doesn't want anything from me. You don't want my name, my money, my family legacy. You want answers, honesty, respect." "Of course I want respect," she whispered, "and that's why you scare me." She blinked. "Scare you?" Beggar nodded. "Because for the first time in years, I want to be seen, not as Benson Johnson, not as a billionaire, not as some heir. I want to be seen as a man. And you see me. You actually see me." Riley's breath shook. "What do you want from me? Right now. This moment." He shifted closer, cautiously, like approaching a wounded animal. "I want to earn your trust back," he said. "Not force it, not demand it. Earn it, day by day, step by step." "And the marriage?" she asked quietly. He swallowed. "If you want it annulled, I'll sign without hesitation. If you want to walk away, I won't chase you. If you want to try, even slowly, I'll show up every day. I'll do whatever it takes." Riley wiped at her cheek. "Why me, though?" He inhaled deeply. "Because when I look at you, I don't see a future built on money or contracts. I see a home." Her chest tightened painfully. "And I ain't felt at home in a long time," he finished softly. Riley looked at her hands, at the ring still sitting on her finger like a promise she wasn't sure she deserved. "You hurt me, Beggar," she whispered. "I know. You confused me." "I know. You scared me." "I know," he said again, voice thick. She looked up, eyes glossy. "But you didn't break me." He exhaled shakily. Riley took a slow breath. "I don't know what this marriage is supposed to be. I don't know where we go from here. But I came tonight because I want to understand you, and maybe understand what this thing between us is." Beggar's eyes softened with relief, gratitude, disbelief. "You don't have to decide everything tonight," he said. "I'm not," she whispered, "but I'm not running anymore." He nodded slowly. "Then I'll walk with you, however long it takes." The wind rustled the trees overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. A car passed along the street. Life kept moving, and in that small park under the old street lamp, something inside Riley exhaled for the first time in days. Not healed, not whole, but no longer breaking. "Take me home?" she finally asked. Beggar stood and held out his hand, not grabbing, not expecting, just offering. Riley hesitated only a moment before placing her hand in his, and together they walked toward a future neither of them fully understood. But both were finally willing to face. The walk back to Beggar's apartment was quiet, but not tense, not awkward, just quiet in a way that felt like both of them were trying to breathe through everything they had confessed. Riley kept her hand in his, watching how his fingers carefully wrapped around hers. Not tight, not claiming, just steady. A grounding she didn't know she needed. When they approached the building, Riley slowed. The street felt too still, the air too sharp. She felt it first, something off, a prickle down her spine. The kind of instinct that came from years of survival. "Beggar," she whispered, gripping his hand. He looked up immediately, scanning the area. It took only a second for him to see what she sensed. A black car was parked across the street with its engine off, the windows tinted too dark. Not out of place in a city like theirs, but wrong. Watching. "Stay behind me," he murmured. Her heart jumped. "Is it them?" "I don't know." His voice was low, controlled, but the tension in his shoulders told her enough. "But we ain't ignoring it." Before Riley could ask what he meant, the car door opened. A man stepped out, white, mid-30s, a suit that cost more than Riley made in 3 months. He adjusted his cufflinks and smiled in a way that didn't reach his eyes. "Well, well, Benson Johnson, hard man to track down when he doesn't want to be found." Beggar's jaw tightened. "Get in your car and drive away." Now, the man said smoothly. "No need to be rude. My employer simply wants to talk." Riley stepped slightly closer to Beggar's side. "Is this Ashton Corp?" The man's smile widened. "Someone's been doing her homework." Beggar's arm automatically shifted in front of her. Protective, firm. "You got 5 seconds to leave," Beggar said. "Or what?" the man asked casually, adjusting his tie. "You'll throw a punch? Start a scene? That's not like you, Benson. You're usually such a gentleman." Beggar didn't move, but Riley could feel the quiet anger radiating off him. The man's eyes slid to Riley, and his smile sharpened. "And you must be the wife, Riley Carter, correct? Lovely to meet you." "Don't address her," Beggar warned. "Oh, but she's a part of this now," the man said. "A very interesting part. A sudden marriage, no prenup. A woman nobody's ever heard of, suddenly tied to a multi-billion-dollar empire. The public finds that fascinating." Riley felt sick. "I didn't ask for any of this." "Doesn't matter," he replied casually. "What matters is leverage." Beggar stepped forward, voice low and dangerous. "You need to leave." The man shrugged. "Tell your board to expect a call. Ann Benson? She's pretty. Shame if the press twisted that into something messy." Riley's heart pounded so hard she felt dizzy. Beggar took one step. Just one. The man immediately backed away with raised hands. "Relax. I'm a messenger, not a fighter. And besides, your reputation won't benefit from a public altercation. You know how headlines work." He walked back to his car and tapped the roof lightly. "We'll be in touch." As the car drove away, Riley could finally breathe again, but it was sharp, shallow, panicked. Beggar turned to her instantly. "Riley, look at me." She didn't. Her hands shook uncontrollably, eyes stinging with fear she hadn't felt since the wedding day imploded. Riley. His voice softened. He gently cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. You're safe. You hear me? He ain't touching you. Nobody is. Riley covered her mouth as tears spilled. They're watching us. Watching me. Because of you. I know, he whispered, and I'll fix it. She shook her head. How? They know where we live. I'll handle it. You keep saying that, she whispered, voice breaking. But every time I learn something new about your life, it gets worse. Bigger. I don't know if I can. He didn't pull her into a hug. He didn't force anything. He just stood there, letting her breathe through the panic, letting her cry, not touching her until she reached for him. When she finally slid her hands against his chest and leaned in, he wrapped her gently in his arms. I'm not going to let them hurt you, he murmured against her hair. I promise you that. Riley held on a little tighter. When they went inside, Beggar immediately locked the door, double-checked the windows, and closed the blinds. She watched his movements, precise, trained, cautious, not panicked. No alarm system? She asked shakily. There is, he replied, tapping a keypad near the door, but I didn't turn it on earlier. Why not? He hesitated. Didn't want to make you feel like a prisoner. Her heart thumped painfully. As he activated the security system, Riley paced the living room, her anxiety spiraling. Beggar, this is too much. Ashton Corp has men watching us, digging into my past, threatening me. My name is on TV, my family knows. Lance knows. Alicia knows. I have no privacy, no peace. He approached her slowly. I know, and I'm sorry. This ain't what I wanted for you. But it's what happened, she shot back. Yes, he said quietly, and I'm gonna make sure it stops. How? She asked again, louder this time. By hiding me? By locking me in here like I'm some secret to protect? I just got away from one man who made decisions for me. I'm not about to fall into another situation where I'm powerless. Beggar stiffened. You ain't powerless. I feel like I am, she cried. Beggar shut his eyes and inhaled deeply. Okay, then tell me what you need. Right now, tell me how to help. Riley didn't expect that answer. Not control, not demands, not excuses, just a question, a choice. She sank onto the couch, exhausted. I don't know. That's okay, he said. You ain't gotta know tonight. Silence stretched between them, heavier than before. After a long moment, Riley whispered, I don't think I can stay here tonight. Beggar's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Do you want me to drive you home? She hesitated. I don't think home is safe either. Then where? She rubbed her forehead. A hotel? Somewhere neutral. Somewhere quiet. Okay, he said immediately. Whatever you want. You're not coming, she added quickly. He blinked at that. I wasn't going to. Riley winced. I didn't mean that to sound harsh. You're scared, he said simply. It's fine, I get it. And he did. She could hear it in his voice. He grabbed his keys. I'll drive you, and I'll stay outside until you're checked in. Beggar. That's all, he murmured, gently cutting her off. Just making sure you get there safe. They drove in silence. The hotel was a mid-range one. Clean, normal, neutral. Exactly what she wanted. At the front door, Riley hesitated, hand on the door handle. You gonna be okay? Beggar asked softly. She turned toward him, eyes swollen from crying. I don't know. If you need anything, he said, call me even if it's 2 a.m., even if it's nothing but you needing to hear someone breathe on the other end. Her heart ached at the gentleness. Good night, Beggar. Good night, Riley. She stepped out of the truck and headed inside without looking back, but when she reached the lobby, she glanced through the glass doors. Just once. Beggar was still there, still watching, still protecting. Not from possession, not from control, just from love. She swallowed hard, turned away, and walked to the front desk. Half an hour later, she lay alone in the hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the man in the suit, saw the hungry look in his eyes, saw the way he smirked when he talked about leverage. She rolled over, clutched the pillow, and exhaled shakily. Then she reached for her phone. Her finger hovered over Beggar's name, but she didn't call him. Instead, she whispered into the dark. I'm in love with a man who scares me and comforts me at the same time. And somehow, that terrified her more than any enemy ever could. Riley barely slept. Every time she drifted close to rest, some sound in the hallway, footsteps, an elevator ding, a distant laugh, yanked her eyes open again. The hotel room felt too quiet, too unfamiliar, too vulnerable. By the time dawn crept through the blinds, her nerves were raw. She sat up, rubbed her face, and sighed. She wanted to feel safe, wanted to feel invisible again, but nothing felt hidden anymore. Not her name, not her face, not her connection to Beggar a Billionaire. The words still felt foreign in her mind. Her phone buzzed. She flinched, then checked it, and exhaled when she saw her mum's name. Mom. Baby, call me when you wake up. Monroe is already pacing like a madman. Riley groaned. She'd deal with them later. She needed a moment to breathe before another storm swallowed her whole. A knock echoed through her room. Her pulse spiked instantly. Another knock, firm, controlled. Riley? A familiar voice called. Her shoulders sagged with something like relief, then confusion. Carter, she whispered, approaching the door cautiously. She checked the peephole. Carter Daniels stood in the hallway, wearing a button-down shirt, jeans, and a lanyard around his neck with a building ID. He looked exhausted, his hair slightly messy, eyes heavy. Riley opened the door just enough to peek out. How did you even find this hotel? Carter held up both hands. I didn't track you, Beggar did. Her heart stalled. He sent you? Yeah, Carter said gently. He wanted to come but figured you didn't want to see him yet. He asked me to check on you, make sure you were okay. Carter exhaled. Look, Riley, he hasn't slept either. She looked away, hugging her elbow. I didn't ask him to worry. You don't have to ask. He just does. Riley swallowed. Can I come in? Carter asked softly. She hesitated, then opened the door wider. He stepped inside, glanced around, and nodded approvingly. At least the place is clean, but this hotel's too public. Public? She asked, frowning. Reporters are sniffing. Ashton Corp too. He turned toward her. Riley, this looks like a normal hotel, but trust me, it's not a good hiding place. Her stomach twisted. I'm not hiding. He raised a brow. Feels a whole lot like hiding. She sank onto the edge of the bed. I just needed space. I get that, Carter said, sitting on the chair across from her. But space doesn't protect you from corporations who dig into people's lives for fun. He rubbed his forehead. Ashton Corp has lawyers, investigators, PR sharks. They don't play clean. I'm not afraid of them, she whispered. Carter stared at her for a long moment, sympathy softening his eyes. Yes, you are, he said gently. And that's okay. Riley blinked back tears. I'm just tired. I'm so tired of people making choices around me. Carter nodded slowly. So stop letting them. She looked up sharply. You got more power than you think, he said, but fear makes you forget that. Riley didn't respond. She didn't know what to say. After a moment, Carter stood and slipped his hands into his pockets. Beggar didn't send me to drag you home. He sent me because he needed to know you weren't alone. His voice softened. And he knows he's the last person you want right now. Riley clenched her jaw. That's not true. No? Carter asked quietly. She closed her eyes. It's complicated, she whispered. Everything about this is complicated, he said with a faint smile. Beggar's life was already a mess. You just stepped into it. I didn't ask to be in it. No, but you didn't run either, not until last night. She winced. Carter sat across from her again. Riley, what do you want? She lifted her hands helplessly. I don't even know what that means anymore. It means, he said gently, do you want to face this with him? Or do you want out? The question hit her like a brick to the chest. Beggar said he'd let me leave, she murmured. Carter nodded. He meant it. Riley's throat tightened painfully. He didn't even fight. He's trying not to be what scares you, Carter said. Trying not to push, not to be another man who traps you by accident. She pressed her trembling fingers to her eyes. This is destroying me. Carter leaned forward. Then let him help you. He paused, then added, He loves you, Riley, and that man does not love easily. Her breath hitched. Carter stood, moving toward the door. Think about what you want, he said, but whatever you choose, choose it loud. Before he left, he added one more thing. And Riley, if you decide to walk away, he'll step aside, but he'll never stop worrying about you. That's not how his heart works. The door closed behind him. Riley collapsed back on the bed, tears streaming quietly down her face. She didn't know how long she cried, didn't know how long she curled around the ache in her chest, but eventually, exhaustion pulled her under. When she woke, the sun was brighter, the room warmer, but her anxiety was still sitting on her chest like a weight. She turned over and screamed. A shadowy figure stood at the foot of her bed. Her heart slammed painfully until her eyes adjusted. Jesus! Monroe! She snapped, holding her chest. Are you insane? Monroe raised both hands, angry and frantic. What, you ain't gonna answer your phone? You had Mom scared half to death. You broke into my hotel room? It wasn't locked right, he argued, because Carter just left. Monroe blinked. Carter? Carter who? Beggar's security. Monroe made a face. Oh, big dude with the beard? You met him? Riley gasped. Sheesh, Riley, how long you think it took before news vans started circling our house? He was outside talking to reporters like some kind of bouncer. Monroe rolled his eyes. I thought I was gonna see him choke a paparazzi. Riley groaned. This is a nightmare. Monroe paced the room like a caged animal. Why didn't you come home? He demanded. Mum been crying. People been calling. The neighbors know. Everybody knows. You trying to embarrass us or something? Riley's face went cold. Excuse me? You married a billionaire, Riley. You need to act like you got some sense. I didn't know he was a billionaire when I married him. Then why'd you do it? Monroe shot back. For love? Don't make me laugh. Her blood boiled. You think I'm some gold digger? I think, he snapped, pointing at her, that you better stop running your mouth and go back to that man before he decides you ain't worth the trouble. Riley flinched, like he slapped her. Monroe froze, guilt flickering across his face, but not enough to soften him. Riley stepped forward, eyes blazing with hurt. You know what's crazy? She whispered. I spent my whole life putting this family first. I skipped college so you could go. I worked double shifts so Mum could rest. I bought your daughter shoes when you couldn't. And now that I'm finally choosing something for myself, you talking to me like I'm a burden. Monroe's mouth pressed into a line. Wow, she said bitterly. I didn't realize the biggest threat in my life wasn't Ashton Corp. It was my own brother. Monroe's jaw tightened. Riley grabbed her shoes, her purse, and walked past him. Where you going? He asked sharply. Somewhere you don't have the right to follow. Riley! She didn't stop, didn't look back. She walked out of the room, out of the hallway, out of the hotel, and straight into Beggar's truck. He sat behind the wheel, both hands gripping the steering wheel, shoulders tense like he'd been waiting hours. He didn't look at her. "Hotel cameras caught your brother going in," he said quietly. "I came soon as I saw him." Riley climbed inside and closed the door. They sat in silence for a long, waited moment. "Take me somewhere," she whispered. Beggar finally looked at her. "Where?" "Anywhere I can breathe." He nodded once, turned on the engine, and pulled away from the hotel. Neither of them said another word, but for the first time since everything exploded, Riley didn't feel alone. She didn't feel hunted. She didn't feel watched. She just felt safe with him. Beggar didn't ask any questions when Riley told him to drive. He didn't pry, didn't push. He just kept his hands steady on the steering wheel while the city blurred past the windows. The silence between them wasn't tense this time. It felt like a moment suspended between storms, a breath they both desperately needed before whatever came next. Riley stared out the passenger side window, watching buildings fade into softer edges as they moved away from the downtown core. She wasn't sure where they were going, but she didn't care. She trusted Beggar's driving, trusted his instinct to take her somewhere safe, even when she couldn't articulate what that meant. His voice finally broke the silence, low and cautious. "You good?" She nodded, though her throat tightened. "I will be." He gave a single, understanding nod. "I ain't taking you back to my place, or your mum's, or anywhere loud. Just somewhere quiet, outside the noise." Riley closed her eyes. "Thank you." They drove another 15 minutes before the city gave way to something unexpected. Open space, trees, a stretch of water shimmering behind a row of old brick buildings. It took her a second to realize where they were. "The waterfront," Riley whispered. "Yeah," Beggar said softly. "Most people forget this part of the city exists too far from the tourist areas, too old for the rich, too quiet for the young." He pulled into an empty parking lot facing the water. Only a few fishermen were scattered along the pier, their silhouettes calm and patient, like nothing in the world could rush them. Riley stepped out of the truck. The wind off the water hit her immediately, cool but gentle. She inhaled deeply, letting the scent of lake and morning air settle into her lungs. It felt like the first real breath she'd taken in days. Beggar leaned against the hood, arms crossed, watching her quietly, not studying her, not analyzing her, just being present, solid, unmoving, steady. She walked toward him until she was close enough to touch him but didn't. "How did you know this place would help?" she asked. He shrugged. "It's where I come when the world gets too damn loud." Riley looked out at the waves lapping the shore. "How often does that happen?" He let out a short, humorless laugh. "Lately, every damn day." Riley stepped closer this time. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," he said. "None of this mess is your fault." "Some of it is," she whispered. He shook his head. "No. You didn't ask Ashton Corp to target me. You didn't ask reporters to knock on your mama's door. You didn't ask your brother to act a fool or me to pull you into my life like a storm." She looked up at him. "Beggar, I ran." "You human," he said. "Everybody runs when they scared." "And you?" she asked quietly. "Do you run?" He hesitated before answering. "Used to. Not anymore." "What changed?" His eyes met hers. "You." The wind seemed to hush. The water slowed. Riley felt her heartbeat shift, faster, but warmer. "You don't even know me," she whispered. "I know enough," he said. "Enough to care. Enough to try. Enough to fight." Riley felt her breath catch. "But if you need space," he added gently, "I ain't gonna suffocate you. I ain't Lance. I ain't Ashton. I ain't nobody who wants something from you. Riley blinked hard. Then why do you want me? He answered without hesitation. Because you make me feel like I ain't just surviving. Like my life ain't just numbers and enemies and boardrooms. With you, I'm human. Her heart squeezed painfully. He meant every word. She could hear it in the tremble under his strength. She took a seat on the hood beside him, legs dangling. He didn't move until she brushed her shoulder against his, a gentle signal that she wanted him close. Only then did he relax, leaning slightly into her. For a while, they just sat like that, letting the quiet water speak for them. When Riley finally spoke, her voice was soft but steady. Monroe came to the hotel. Beggar stiffened, his jaw tightening. I know. Cameras caught him going up. He said I was embarrassing the family, Riley said, staring at her hands. Said I needed to go back to you before you decide I'm not worth the trouble. Beggar cursed under his breath. Say the word and I'll go handle him. No, she whispered quickly. He's scared. He's angry. He's… Monroe. That ain't an excuse, Beggar muttered. He talked to you like that again. I'll handle it, Riley said firmly. Beggar glanced at her, surprised. She nodded. I have to stand up for myself, no matter who it is. He studied her for a long moment. You're stronger than you realize. Riley swallowed. I don't feel strong. That's usually when we're strongest, he said quietly. She turned toward him. Beggar, what do they want from you? Ashton Corp. He sighed, a deep, worn-out sound. My father's company, the biggest competitor. They've been trying to buy out Johnson Industries for years. My dad fought 'em tooth and nail. After he died, they thought they could bully me. And you're bored? Half of 'em don't trust me, Beggar admitted. I don't play their games. I don't kiss their rings. I ain't the type they want in power. So they want to replace you. They want me to sell my shares and walk away. His jaw tightened. And I ain't doing that. Riley bit her lip. So marrying me made you look weaker to them. Made me look unpredictable, Beggar corrected. Powerful men don't like surprises unless they make in them. Oh, Riley whispered. He looked at her fully now. They ain't messing with you because you weak. They messin' with you because they think you important to me. Riley's breath hitched. Are you? She asked softly. He stared at her like she was the only solid thing in a shifting world. You the most important thing to me right now, he said simply. Her throat tightened, emotions tangled, fear, hope, longing, confusion. Then why didn't you tell me who you were? She whispered. Why did I have to find out through scandals and reporters showing up at my door? Beggar rubbed his hands over his face. Because every time I told a woman the truth, they changed every time. They saw the money, not me. They saw opportunity, not a person. He dropped his hands slowly. And you looked at me like I mattered without all that. Riley exhaled shakily. So I tried to protect that, he said. But I hurt you instead. She nodded, tears prickling at her eyes. Yeah, you did. I'm sorry, Riley, he whispered. I ain't asking you to forget it, but I'm asking you to let me fix what I broke. She wiped at her eyes. How? By being honest. Every day, no secrets, no masks, and by keeping you safe so you can sleep without jumping at every noise. I don't want protection that feels like a cage, she said. I had enough of that. You won't get that from me, he said firmly. You want to work, you work. You want to see your family. You see 'em, you want to leave? I let you walk, but I'll damn sure keep the wolves off your back. Riley nodded slowly. She didn't speak for a moment. Then she slid her hand along the hood until it rested on top of his. He froze, looking down at their touching hands, like he didn't trust the moment to be real. I'm not ready to go back to your apartment, she said. I get it. But I don't want to go back to my mum's, she added. He waited, not telling her where to be. I want... She hesitated. I want a place that's ours. Not yours. Not mine. Ours. His breath caught. Like a safe house? He asked. She shook her head. Like a beginning. Beggar's chest rose slowly, deeply. I can do that. Riley met his eyes. Together, Beggar, not with you making all the decisions by yourself. He nodded. Together. The air softened around them, warm despite the wind. Beggar slid off the hood and offered his hand. You ready? He whispered. Riley stared at his hand for a long second before placing hers in it. Yeah, she said. I think I am. He held her hand the whole walk back to the truck, steady, patient, present. But as they drove off the waterfront, another car pulled away from a dark corner of the lot. Beggar didn't see it. Riley didn't see it. But someone was watching, and they weren't going to let things stay peaceful for long. The drive from the waterfront started slow, almost too slow, like both Riley and Beggar were afraid to break whatever fragile peace had settled between them. The late afternoon sun filtered through the windshield, throwing soft gold across Riley's face. Beggar noticed it. He noticed everything. The way her shoulders finally relaxed, the way her fingers tapped quietly on her knee like she was sorting through thoughts she wasn't ready to say out loud. He didn't push, he just let her breathe. Riley finally spoke, when they'd been on the road nearly 10 minutes. Do you have a place in mind? She asked quietly. Yeah, Beggar said, but only if you comfortable with it. It's one of the properties ain't nobody knows I own, under a different name. Riley lifted a brow. A different name? How many names you got? Beggar smirked slightly. Don't do that. She finally gave a tiny laugh, weak but real. Okay, fine, but why all the secrecy, really? Because when you're worth what I'm worth, he said, eyes still on the road, privacy is the only thing you can't buy. Riley sat quietly with that thought, watching his knuckles tighten on the wheel. Is this place far? She asked. No, about 20 minutes. His voice dropped lower. And nobody knows about it but me, not even the board. Riley nodded slowly. That was comforting and terrifying. They turned into a quieter part of town. Older homes with wide porches, big trees lining the sidewalks, kids riding bikes in clusters. It looked like a neighborhood she could have grown up in. A neighborhood where people borrowed sugar from each other and waved from front lawns. But Beggar didn't stop there. He drove deeper, past the neighborhood, past a row of abandoned warehouses, until they reached a dead-end street. Riley might have considered eerie if Beggar wasn't beside her. He pulled up to a brick building with faded paint, a place she would have thought was just another old warehouse if she didn't notice the security keypad subtly hidden behind a metal panel. What is this? She asked softly. One of Dad's first investments, Beggar said. He converted it a long time ago. He paused. Nobody comes here. Nobody knows it exists. Riley swallowed. And you're taking me here? I trust you. Her heart thudded hard enough that she looked away out of instinct. He didn't say things like that lightly. Not with weight, not with vulnerability stitched into every word. He parked, stepped out, and opened her door for her. Riley hopped down, though her legs wobbled slightly. Beggar placed a steadying hand on her waist before she even realized she needed the support. She didn't move away. Inside, the building surprised her. It wasn't cold or industrial, far from it. The moment Beggar unlocked the door and pushed it open, warm light spilled over polished floors, soft beige walls, and wide windows that overlooked the river behind the building. The entire loft felt like a secret world tucked away from noise and chaos. Riley stepped inside slowly, her breath catching. Beggar, this is beautiful. He shrugged, running a hand down his beard. Ain't fancy, but it's clean safe, quiet. It's perfect, she whispered. He locked the door behind them and set his keys on the counter. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked unsure, as if he didn't know what she'd need next, or want next, or say next. Riley looked around again. Soft couch, open kitchen, high ceilings, gentle lighting. She felt something loosen in her chest. "Is this where you hide when the world gets too heavy?" she asked. He nodded once. "Yeah, used to come here with my dad sometimes. After he passed, I didn't come often, only when I needed to breathe." She let her hand trail across the kitchen counter, feeling the smooth stone beneath her fingertips. "And you brought me here." "I didn't know if you'd want to come," Beggar admitted, "but I wanted you to have a place you ain't afraid to rest." Riley turned toward him fully. "Beggar." She didn't know what she wanted to say next. "Thank you? I'm scared. I care about you." All of them felt true and overwhelming, but before she could speak, a vibration buzzed in her purse. She stiffened immediately. Beggar stepped closer. "You want me to check it?" "No," she whispered, pulling out her phone. The caller ID made her stomach twist. Lance, her ex-fiancé, the man she walked away from at the altar, the man who humiliated her, the man who wanted a picture-perfect life more than he wanted her. Beggar saw the name on the screen. His expression shifted, tight jaw, narrowed eyes, but he didn't say a word. "Let it ring if you want," he murmured. Riley let it ring, but Lance wasn't done. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a voicemail, then a text, then another. She opened the message cautiously. "Riley, I know everything. I saw the news. The reporters are everywhere. Call me back. We need to talk. This isn't over." Riley's breath shortened. Beggar watched her quietly. "You want me to block him?" "No," she whispered, "because if I block him, he'll just show up. Lance doesn't take no like a normal person." "Then what you want me to do?" Beggar asked gently. She looked up at him, her pulse frantic. "Just don't leave." He didn't hesitate. "Riley, I ain't going anywhere." The reassurance steadied her more than she expected. She set the phone face down on the counter and tried to breathe normally. "You thirsty?" Beggar asked. "I got water or juice or maybe a soda somewhere." "I'm okay," she said softly. He nodded. "Then sit, rest. I'll check perimeter cameras." She blinked. "There's cameras?" "Only outside, not inside. I don't violate people's privacy." She exhaled in relief. While he checked the screens near the entrance, Riley walked toward the wide windows overlooking the river. The view calmed her. Steady water, the soft movement of wind through the reeds, distant traffic muffled by distance. This place wasn't just a hideout. It felt like a beginning. She didn't hear Beggar return until his reflection appeared beside hers. "You good?" he asked again. She nodded. "Better." He leaned his shoulder against the window frame, watching her instead of the river. "You want me to handle Lance?" he asked quietly. Riley's heart fluttered at the underlying threat in his voice. Not dangerous to her, but dangerous to anyone who hurt her. "No," she said. "But maybe I need to talk to him." "Not alone." She nodded. "Not alone." He softened a little. "You feel safer now?" She looked at him, really looked, the man who stood by her through chaos, the man who stepped in when she was humiliated, the man who held her hand when her life unraveled, the man who didn't run when things got hard. "Yes," she said. "I do." He exhaled, tension leaving his shoulders, like he'd been holding that breath since the moment she left his apartment the night before. "Good," he murmured. "Good." She stepped closer without realizing it, drawn in by the warmth he radiated. He didn't reach for her, but his eyes lowered to her lips instinctively, breath slowing. "Riley," he whispered, like her name meant something he wasn't ready to say out loud. She felt heat rise in her neck. "Yeah? If I kiss you right now, It ain't gonna be a small thing. Her breath hitched. It ain't gonna be a maybe, he said. It ain't gonna be halfway. It's gonna mean something. Riley swallowed hard. Do you want to kiss me? He nodded once. Yeah, I do. Her pulse roared in her ears. But only if you want it too, he added softly. Only then. Riley stepped forward, slowly, deliberately, closing the space between them. Her hand reached up, brushing lightly against his chest. He inhaled sharply at the contact, muscles tensing under her fingertips. I want it, she whispered. He didn't waste another second. His hand slid to her waist. The other cupped the back of her neck gently, protective, not possessive. Riley tilted her chin up, and when his lips met hers, it was like everything she'd been holding in finally released. The kiss was soft at first, slow, warm, questioning. Then something shifted. Need built between them, careful, respectful, electric. Beggar deepened the kiss, pulling her closer as if she were something precious he'd been aching to hold. Riley's fingers curled into his shirt. She felt his heartbeat against her palm, strong, steady, real. When they finally broke apart, both of them breathed hard. Damn, he murmured, resting his forehead against hers. Riley laughed softly, breathless. Yeah, damn. But the moment was cut short by a vibration on the counter. Both of them froze. Riley turned her head toward her phone slowly. An unknown number. Another lightning bolt of dread shot through her. Beggar stepped between her and the phone instinctively. Don't touch it! The phone buzzed again, and again. Then a message notification flashed on the screen. One line. One threat. We know where you are. Riley's blood ran cold. Beggar snatched the phone, his face turning dark, dangerous, lethal in a way Riley had never seen. He looked at her with a fire in his eyes. They found us. Her heart slammed so hard she grabbed his arm. Beggar, what do we do? He squeezed her hand. We don't run, he said, and we don't hide. He stepped in front of her, shielding her with his body as the security monitor beeped someone was outside, watching. The shadow that followed them at the waterfront had caught up. Beggar didn't move for a moment. He stood as still as stone, eyes fixed on the security monitor. As the small red light blinked at the bottom corner of the screen, someone was at the entrance downstairs. Too close, too still, too intentional. Riley grabbed his arm, her voice trembling. Is it Ashton, or the board, or... Shh. Beggar held up a hand, listening. The hallway outside the loft was silent, but it was the heavy, unnatural silence of someone waiting, watching. The phone buzzed again on the counter, the unknown number flashing once more. Open the door. Riley's stomach twisted. Beggar, what if they're armed? He didn't take his eyes off the monitor. Then they made the worst mistake of their lives. Beggar, Riley said desperately, grabbing his hand now. Please, don't do anything reckless. He turned to her finally, pulling her close with a gentleness that broke her heart. I am not gonna let them touch you, he said, voice low, powerful, not while I'm breathing, not while I got blood in my veins. Riley swallowed, tears pooling at the corners of her eyes. I'm not asking you to let them. I'm asking you not to die tonight. His expression softened slightly, but only for her. I ain't dying, not tonight, not ever, not for cowards like them. He kissed her forehead, then stepped away and grabbed something from the drawer, his keys, his wallet, and something metal Riley didn't realize he owned, a gun. Her heart lurched. Beggar. He didn't point it, didn't wave it, didn't do anything reckless. He just held it low and steady, like someone who'd been trained long before she ever met him. It's registered, he said. Legal, safe, never used it outside a range. But we don't know who's out there, he cut in, and I ain't taking chances with your life. Her throat tightened. I don't want to lose you." "You won't." His eyes softened. "You really think I'm going to let a bunch of greedy suits take me out? Babe, I'm too stubborn for that." The word babe hit the air softly, almost accidentally, but Riley's heart caught on it anyway. Before she could respond, footsteps echoed faintly from the hallway. Slow, heavy, intentionally slow. A chill ran down her spine. "Bigger," she whispered, backing up. "We should call the police." "We will," he said, "but these guys, if it's who I think, it'll be over before cops get here." "Who do you think it is?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped toward the door and flipped the safety on the alarm panel, locking everything down. Then he turned back to her. "Go to the back room and close the door. Don't open it unless you hear my voice." "No." Riley shook her head fiercely. "I'm not leaving you. I won't hide while you fight alone." "This ain't about pride," he snapped softly. "This is about keeping you alive." "And what about you?" she shot back. "Who's protecting you?" He stared at her, chest rising and falling with emotion he wasn't used to showing. "You are," he finally whispered. That broke something inside her. Before she could answer, the footsteps stopped, right outside the loft door. Beggar's muscles tensed instantly. He raised the gun and held it low, steady, ready. There was a knock, slow, deliberate, echoing through the building like the pulse of a nightmare. Riley's breath hitched so hard she covered her mouth. Beggar didn't speak, didn't move, didn't breathe. Another knock, harder. A voice followed, smooth, calm, hauntingly familiar. "Mr. Johnson," the man said through the door, "we just want to talk." Riley's heart slammed. That's the guy from the street." Beggar's jaw flexed. "Yeah, messenger boy." The man laughed lightly. "No need for weapons. We're civilized. We can discuss everything without drama." Beggar rolled his eyes. "You stalked my wife. Sent threats showed up at my door. You think I'm falling for civilized?" "Mr. Johnson," the man continued, voice patient, "your little surprise wedding stirred up a hornet's nest. Our employer simply wants clarity, transparency, cooperation." "Tell your employer to choke on it," Beggar growled. Riley flinched, but the man outside chuckled again. "Now that's not very polite. We could have approached your board first. You know how delicate they are, but we chose to speak directly with you. Isn't that a sign of respect?" Beggar snorted. "Respect left the building when you tailed my car." "And yet," the man said calmly, "we're still willing to negotiate. Open the door, Benson." Riley's breath caught. "Don't." "I ain't." Beggar turned his head slightly, but kept his eyes on the door. "Riley, go to the back room. Please." She shook her head. "I'm not leaving." Something cracked through the heavy air, metal scraping gently, like a tool, like someone inserting something into a lock. Beggar stiffened. "Back room, now." Riley didn't move. The lock clicked. Someone incredibly skilled, was trying to pick the door. Beggar whispered harshly, "Riley!" "I'm staying," she said, voice trembling but unshakable. "If you fall, I fall. That's how this works." The lock clicked again. Beggar surged forward, grabbed her waist, and gently pushed her behind him. The door handle shook once, twice, then silence, a beat, another beat. Then the door burst open, not violently, but surgically, quiet, precise, controlled. The man from earlier stepped inside, flanked by two others in dark suits. Beggar raised the gun instantly. The leader held up his hands. "Easy, no need for theatrics." "You took one more step into my home," Beggar warned, "and we gonna have a problem you can't negotiate your way out of." The man smiled thinly. "We're simply here to deliver an offer." "We don't want your offer," Riley snapped, voice shaking but strong. All three men looked at her now. A slow smile crept onto the leader's face. "Ah, The wife. Or should I say, the variable. Bigger's arm flexed with tension. One of the other men stepped forward. Mr. Johnson, you have two choices. Step back, Bigger growled. Now. Sell your shares, the second man continued, or we reveal everything the world doesn't know about you, about your past, about your father, about... Bigger cocked the gun. The leader lifted a hand quickly. Gentlemen, not another word. The second man fell silent. Riley's pulse thundered. Why are you doing this? Why target me? The leader's smile sharpened. Because power is rarely about force, Mrs. Johnson. It's about leverage, and you gave us something unexpected. Riley stepped closer to Bigger instinctively. And what's that? His weakness. Bigger lunged one step, gun raised. The leader didn't flinch. See? Predictable. Riley grabbed Bigger's arm. Don't. That's what they want. If you fire, they win. They get a scandal. They get the board. They get everything. Bigger's breath shook with fury. Riley turned to the men, her voice steadier than she felt. Get out! The leader blinked. I'm sorry? I said get out, she repeated. If you're so brave, go to the board, go to the reporters, go tell whoever you want, but leave us alone. The men exchanged looks, confused at first, then amused. You think you're safe without his money? The leader asked. Without his influence? Riley lifted her chin. I think you underestimate me. The leader laughed softly. And what exactly can you do? Expose you, she said. Because unlike you, I didn't grow up with wealth. I grew up surviving, lying, cheating, manipulating. I saw it every day, and I can see through all three of you. The second man stepped forward. You're bluffing. No, Riley said. I'm done being scared. Bigger stared at her, stunned, proud, terrified, amazed. Riley continued, voice gaining strength. If you think the world will believe 3 strangers over 2 married people, the woman you tried to intimidate, the billionaire CEO you've been harassing, then go ahead, try it. Let's see who wins that PR war. The leader's smile faltered. This conversation, Riley finished, is over. For a long moment the room froze. Then the leader spoke. You two are dangerous together. Bigger growled. You have no idea. The leader straightened his suit. We'll be in touch. No, Riley said. You won't. The men retreated slowly, still composed, still cold, but something in their eyes had shifted. A calculation, a flicker of doubt. When the door closed behind them, Bigger locked it instantly, breathing hard. Riley's knees went weak. He caught her before she fell. Baby, he whispered, holding her trembling body against his. I swear to God, you just scared the hell out of me. She clutched his shirt. I thought they were going to kill us. Me too. But I couldn't let them win. He held her face gently, eyes wet with relief and awe. You saved me in there, he murmured. You saved us. She shook her head, tears streaming silently. No, you saved me first. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips, slow at first, then with the kind of emotion that only comes when 2 people think they almost lost each other. I love you, he whispered against her mouth. I'm done holding it in. Riley broke, relief, fear, love, everything spilling out. I love you too, she whispered, even when it terrifies me. He pulled her into him, arms wrapping around her completely. Later, after the adrenaline settled, after the tears dried, after they sank onto the couch in exhaustion, Bigger spoke again, voice soft but sure. They're not gonna touch you again. My board's getting cleaned out. Ashton Corp's done messing with us. I'm taking back everything they tried to take. Riley leaned into him. And what about us? He kissed her forehead again. We build, he said, together, no secrets, no running, no fear. Riley closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his arms surround her. For the first time in months, she felt her heart rest. Safe, loved, home. Here comes the end of the story. If I was able to make your day, comment Mr. Hope you made my day.